Om Simhaperiva Sharanam. Today I'll be sharing a tip to find the answer for one particular type of question in the topic profit percent and loss percent. After solving the problem, we can check the answer using this simple trick. Let's see an example question. By selling two watches, each watch for rupees 960, I gained 20% on one and lost 20% on the other. Find the profit or loss percent for the whole transaction. Now, usually, how do we solve it? Let's say for watch 1 and watch 2, we have separate columns. Working it out for watch 1 first, if the selling price is rupees 960, let the cost price CP be rupees X. As the profit percent is 20%, we have selling price SP is equal to CP cost price plus 20% of the cost price. That is 960 will be equal to X plus 0.2X, or 960 will be equal to 1.2X, or X will be equal to 800 rupees. Similarly, for watch 2, the selling price is the same, that is rupees 960. Let the cost price be rupees Y. As the loss percent is 20%, the selling price will be CP minus 20% of CP, that is 960 will be equal to Y minus 0.2Y, or 960 will be equal to 0.8Y. Solving for Y, we have Y equals 1200 rupees. Okay. Now, the total cost price will be X plus Y, that is equal to rupees 800 plus rupees 1200, that comes to rupees 2000. And the total selling price will be equal to rupees 960 plus rupees 960, because both have the same selling price. That comes to rupees 1920. Now, loss will be equal to total cost price minus total selling price. So, that gives us rupees 2000 minus rupees 1920, that is equal to rupees 80. And loss percent will be loss upon total CP, the whole into 100 in percent. That comes to 4%. Now, we have got the answer as 4%. Now, let's go to the simpler method of checking the answer. Now, we take the percentage in the question. What is the percentage? We take the profit percent or loss percent. That's the same percent, right? 20 in this case. So, in selling one watch, I gained 20%, and in selling the other watch, I lost 20%. So, what is the percentage? That is 20%, right? So, you take that number. In this case, it is 20. So, you take that number and we have to divide it by 10. So, here in this case, it is 20 divided by 10, which is equal to 2. Now, we have to square it. 2 square is 4. So, the answer is 4%. Now, in these types of questions, it is always a loss, okay? When the question is of this form, by selling two articles each for so and so rupees, I gained so and so percent on one and lost so and so percent on the other. But be sure they have the same selling price, and the profit percent and loss percent will be the same percent. So, the condition for applying this tip is we have to have the same selling price and we have to have the same percentage for profit and loss. With these conditions, we can always work it out in 3 steps. The point to be noted is that the answer is always a loss, and the exact loss percentage is found out by taking the percentage first and then dividing it by 10 and then squaring the answer. So, that is the answer that we get.
You see, when we get such questions in our school exams, we'll work out with the usual method. But suppose in a competitive exam, you are given multiple choice questions of this type, you don't need to waste time working it out like that. So this is a trick that will give you the answer in 2 seconds, right? It's a time saver.
Let's go to the next sample question. By selling two articles for rupees 7,800 each, I gained 30% on one and lost 30% on the other.
Find the profit or loss percent for the whole transaction.
You can pause the video and try to solve it. If you work it out with the usual method, you will get as 9% loss. And now since we have learned this new tip, let us do using the simpler method. Let us check the answer using the simpler method. So what do? We take the percentage. What is the percent in this case? 30%. We take the number 30, divide it by 10. What do you get? 3. Square it. What do you get? 3 square is equal to 9. So the answer is 9% loss. You get it? Okay. Let's try to do some more questions.
Do you notice one thing? To solve these types of questions, we don't need the sale price at all. All we need is the gain percent or the loss percent to find out the total loss percent. Let's do a couple of questions. The next one. By selling 2 tables for rupees 1200 each, a man gains 10% on one and loses 10% on the other. Find the gain or loss percent in the whole transaction. So what do? Here we have 10% as the percentage. Dividing it by 10, we have 10 upon 10 equals 1. Squaring it, we have 1 square is equal to 1. So, loss of 1%. That's the answer. Next one. A man sells his 2 cars. On one, he gains 25% and on the other, he loses 25%. Find his gain or loss percent in the whole transaction. So here what do? The percentage is 25. Dividing it by 10, we have 25 upon 10 equals 2.5. And squaring 2.5, we get 6.25. So the loss is 6.25%. Hope you understood this new trick today. See you in the next class. Om Shri Mahaperivar Sharanam.